Jeremy's been a well-known face on television for decades now. Recently, he's gained attention for his new series, Clarkson's Farms. What's interesting is his friendship with former British Prime Minister David Cameron. They've always stood by each other's side through thick and thin. In a recent interview, Jeremy shared a story about how his tractor once blew up, and it's related to the PM. Curious to find out more? Let's get into it. Starting off, Jeremy Clarkson seems to have found the culprit for his tractor accident. You've guessed it right. He thinks that the former PM was the man who caused his vehicle to blow up. Yes, we're not joking. In fact, there was a huge explosion, and the situation got so intense to the point where poor Jeremy thought his friend had been hit by a missile. He told the story in his interview with The Times, although he didn't reveal any name at the beginning and just referred to the person as a mate who'd asked to borrow his tractor because he wanted to mow his paddock. Well, he couldn't hold it in and decided to reveal the name right away by saying that it starts with a D and ends with David Cameron. But that's not important. What's important for the old chap is the fact that Cameron borrowed it and blew it up. To get into more detail, the politician borrowed it on a Saturday morning and set off on a drive, pretending to be someone who was well aware of the countryside. He was wearing a polo shirt, black Wellingtons, and ear defenders, accessorizing it with a Peaky Blinders hat. Clearly, things didn't turn out well for him. The next moment, Clarkson heard a bang and saw a Ukraine-sized mushroom cloud over his farm. And then there were pieces of iron scattered everywhere and oil splattered into the bushes. He says that the culprit said in his defense that he didn't do anything and the machine started acting up on its own. Although David hasn't commented on the situation yet, we're eagerly waiting for his side of the story. Moving on, their friendship is one for the books. No denying that the tractor incident was pretty serious, and we're glad that the former PM made it out of it unharmed. At least that's what we know so far. But knowing these two, we're pretty sure they laughed it off after settling things up. After all, they're known for pulling each other's legs in the media. It's also true that they'll defend each other to death. In fact, Jeremy has landed himself in controversy several times, and David was quick to come to his friend's defense. Take his suspension by the BBC, for instance. What happened was that the broadcasting company suspended him from his show after it was reported that he allegedly punched a producer. In fact, the last few episodes of Top Gear were also dropped by the channel. So when Cameron was asked to comment on the whole situation, he came to his friend's rescue. He said in an interview with the same platform that Jeremy is a talented man and continues to entertain and amuse so many people, including his children, and he revealed that his whole family was heartbroken over Top Gear going off air. He further added that he didn't want to interfere in the matter, but still, he thinks that the suspension was an unfair decision. If you're curious to know what led Clarkson to punch the producer, the story is really funny. Turns out, he got worked up because the producers couldn't get him the steak that he wanted, and instead served him soup and a cold meat platter. Give Jeremy his steak next time, guy. Coming up, they've supported each other through thick and thin. Jeremy's time on Top Gear has always landed him in hot water, one way or the other. Be it for his controversial statements or some questionable actions, he was always in the headlines. In an interview, he recalled the time when he got so frightened that he sent a text message to Cameron during one of the most infamous fiascos on Top Gear. If you've been a follower of the show, you'd recall when he and his co-hosts received a lot of criticism while they were filming in Argentina. What happened was that one of the number plates on their cars appeared to make fun of the Falklands War. We're not sure if it was intentional or not. It didn't turn out well for them, although the team made it clear that the number plate H982FKL was completely coincidental. The outrage wasn't easy to control. During a meeting with his friend at his office in West London, Cameron recalled the incident by saying that his children watched that episode 5 times. Obviously, his friend was quick to mention that such an episode shouldn't be watched again, as it didn't go well. But the former PM insisted that it was the exact reason they liked it. Apparently, his children thought that their father was going to step in and rescue his friend. Following that, he also talked about the worrying text he received from Clarkson in the middle of the whole situation. As we've already talked about, Jeremy lost the Top Gear gig in the following months due to a dispute with producers. Last but not least, the leg pulling never ends. The TV host has an extensive portfolio of work. He's been on the Grand Tour, Top Gear, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And now he has his own Amazon Prime show, Clarkson's Farm. Although he's received a lot of praise for his work, he's pretty annoyed that he's never won a BAFTA. Interestingly, he blames David for it. You're probably wondering how. In a recent interview with The Guardian, he talked about how he has a solid portfolio and still the BAFTA the committee has never even bothered to nominate him. Like at least they could drag him to London no matter the disappointment of losing. He thinks that the reason behind this snub is most definitely his association with PM David Cameron. Clearly, their friendship isn't a secret at this point, as they've publicly supported each other on several occasions, and the former PM was even featured on his show to send a birthday message in 2011. Now for Jeremy's busy life at the Cotswold farm. First off, he's taken up farming. The first season of Clarkson's Farm was released on Amazon Prime Video in June 2021, and it was a success. In fact, the show managed to build a devoted fan base and gained attention for the host's amazing farm and the wonderful Diddley Squat Farm Shop, located in Chipping Norton in the Cotswolds. Shortly after the first series went on air, the streaming platform confirmed that the second series was already in the works, and everyone was eagerly waiting for it. So, with much anticipation, everyone's dying to know more about his busy life on the farm and the rural area where he's been living for years. In the show, we've seen him learning to farm and taking tips from local farmers and the agricultural experts, which include Caleb Cooper, who was born and raised in Chipping Norton, and he plans on staying here for the rest of his life. Although the farm had been in Jeremy's possession for years, he's only decided to work on it himself now. Previously, it was maintained by a contract farmer who announced his retirement. He said that he genuinely used to believe that all you needed was to sow the seeds and that the weather changes would make the food grow. He'd go on a holiday and come back to the ripe, fresh products. But now, farming has brought a different side to life for him in the Cotswolds. Following that, let's talk about Clarkson's farm. If you didn't know, he's actually lovingly named his farm Diddley Squat Farm. Apparently, that's a nod to him being an amateur farmer. It's between Chipping Norton and Chadlington in Oxfordshire. The area is pretty famous and has actually become a high-end and well-sought-after place to live in. In fact, the Cotswolds stone houses come with a huge price tag and are owned by several celebrities and even royals. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle moved to Beaconsfield Farm near Chipping Norton in May 2021, just before their wedding. Spreading over an area of 1,000 acres, the farm was in average condition before the launch of the show. So when he got the opportunity, he was ready to show the world how they could change it, or at least try to do so. The farm isn't really organic, but he and his team have worked hard to encourage wildlife wherever they can, in order to strike a good balance between sustainable farming and economical produce. They've got beetle strips and, as well, formed a big wetland area for insects. Last but not least, how can we forget the Diddley Squat Farm shop? The shop is located on the farm. He uses it to sell the fresh produce from the farm, as well as the items from local makers and growers. Besides food, you can also find kitchen accessories, clothes, and gifts. He describes it to be a place of full good, no-nonsense things one can like, and he's even emphasized on the website that they don't really sell kale. That's a wrap for this video. Have you followed any of Jeremy's shows? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more amazing and exciting videos like this. See you in the next one.